So I'm back again, this time with Age of Extinction Lockdown. And if I'm being honest, I do not like this car mode. It is a bit of a mess. Uh, yeah, this guy has to be very complex, just due to his design. And unfortunately, it means that this car just isn't quite accurate, and it's a little bit of a mess. Like these panels, they don't want to line up. Uh, Ideally, you would be able to get these level with the roof, and they should be, and I've been able to in the past, but they just don't want to do it right now. It's unfortunate. There's kind of gaps, and there's a lot of sacrifices being made. And personally, I think it's worth it for how he transforms and how accurate the robot mode is, and just the effect of the transformation. However, I'm sure there will be car people that just hate this car mode because, well, I don't think this really looks much like a Lamborghini. If I'm being honest, it's just a little too pancakey, I guess. It's just a little too weird. It's not quite there. I don't know if I'll ever try and do a second version and try and get this car mode closer. This has changed a fair amount, not too much, but it has changed a fair amount since I first uploaded my work in progress video of it, which I guess I'm finally delivering on that promise for all the people that commented asking when I was actually going to finish this. Well, here it is. But this has been updated quite a bit since then. I ended up buying the pieces for this for last Brick Fair, 2019 Brick Fair, Virginia. And I ended up doing some upgrades, doing some updates, and basically I just kept changing the build, and then I wouldn't quite be happy with it. So the reason it took so long was that I had it built, but there was always just the next upgrade I had to do. And then when I made this last upgrade, oh man, I just did not feel like digging around the dark gray bin looking for all the pieces I needed, if I'm being quite honest. But here it is now. I finally am covering this in all of its, at least in this mode, less than glory, if in my opinion. I don't think it's awful, but definitely I don't think it's quite up to par with, say, Bumblebee or Barricade. Speaking of which, we can do a size comparison, which I think is relatively important considering the character we're talking about, if you know what I mean. There you have him with Bumblebee, and we can actually get Barricade in the shot, and you can see that Lockdown is actually right about the same size in this mode, and I think that's very important for when we get into robot mode, that frame of reference. So yes, they are basically all the same size. So now that we're done with the car mode, we can get into the transformation, and this guy's transformation is a bit of a tricky one, just due to everything it has to do. So we'll get into that. Now, the first thing you're probably going to want to do is just bring this whole side of the car out. Now, once you've done that, you can come into here, and there are these black sections, and those will be his little missile pods. Now, it's a bit tricky, so I would recommend then bringing the back of the car out, but you want to unpeg them. Once you've done that, you want to then come up to the front, to the back here, to the trunk, and unpeg that. Then you can swing the sides of the car down, and this will give you the clearance to bring this whole section out on a couple of mixel joints. And there you go. So now we're just going to leave those be for the time being, and we're going to deal with the legs. So this whole section of the roof comes up, and you want to just kind of get this section out of the way as much as possible. These will be his arms, so that you can kind of swing them around and work on the legs in peace, where you're not getting the arms in the way. So these chunks of the roof are on ball joints in clips, so they're very loose. So you have to be very careful with these because they can fall off very easily, and they're very loose. So similar to Barricade and Bumblebee, these hips are on maxi-fig joints so that they can swing out. Then you can bring out the whole side of the car as his lower leg. And then you have the foot, which is kind of the front door of the car. And you separate out his little toes. And you can do the same thing on this side. Swing this up, flatten out this roof, and we'll get into that later on when there's clearance to deal with it. Bring down the foot, split his itty-bitty toes, because he has 2 toes for some reason. Because every Transformer design in the movies has to have toes. Well, most of them. Okay, so once you've done that, now you kind of have to work on the chest before you can do anything else. So what you're going to do here is you're going to bring down this front section and rotate it over. Then you can slide it down without breaking it, preferably, and kind of open up the hood, kind of. Then that will allow you to swing out this section, rotate it, and bring it up. Then you're going to want to rotate the headlight structures and fold them up. And then we'll just leave them there for now. And once you've done all that, if you're not accidentally breaking it, because there is some like 2 stud connections in here that unfortunately can be rather weak. This whole waist section swings down, and unfortunately this piece just fell off. So yeah, this guy is one of the more fragile mocks, unfortunately, because there's just a lot of connections that are necessary for the transformation, a lot of fragile ones. But then you can take this section, swing it down, and rotate it. And whoops, that's off screen. And that will be his back, along with the wheels here, which this can be a bit tricky just because this section is attached to the same T-bar. So you have to be kind of careful that when you're rotating one, you're not rotating the other. Otherwise, things can clash into each other. So there you have, basically that's his backpack. And what you can do is you can then swing this back, and those are his headlights on his chest, as is kind of implied, though most have to cheat that. That's something I'm really proud of with this design, is that those are the real headlights. And now you can finish off these sections of the roof, which the windshield here swings up, then this little tiny tile rotates, and whoops, just knocked it off. That's what I was talking about. And oh, yeah, this is a very fragile part of the transformation. But oh, Jesus. So nope. Oh no. Okay. Tight joints, loose connections. So there you go. And basically the windshield just wraps around and forms his butt, which I don't think many Transformers have ever done. So that might be a first. Might be a first, windshield butts. Windshield butt cheeks. But that's how it works. So trying to do this side. But, oh gosh, dang. Yeah, I'm kind of being impatient here, which is why I'm breaking this. If you're careful with this part, you can get it to not break. You know, it doesn't have to break, but I'm just being impatient because it's a warm summer day while I'm filming this, and I can't have my fan on, so kind of being impatient. But there you go. There you have his legs done, and he can start to stand. Kind of, if I'm not being dumb. and I can bring the camera up so we can finish him off and do his arms. So the arms here are kind of on these long strings of spaghetti, and I really don't like doing this kind of thing, but unfortunately it was just what had to be done for this transformation. So this comes back and kind of forms his collar, and then this is actually where the shoulder attaches, so that's the shoulder joint, and then you can bring this up. Now you can come to here, and as I said, this is his little missile pod. It will swing out and then swing back in, so that then this panel rotates and swings in to be the front of his shoulder. When this slides up, and then will be on the side of his shoulder, as it should be. Then you can swing this down, and there you go, there you have an arm. And of course, as is usual, second verse, same as the first, so I will go through it quickly, or at least try to. So collar, shoulder joint, I want to get those both oriented the same way though. Bring this down, out of the way, swing this out. Whoops. It's only attached by one stud on a jumper, this whole shoulder chunk, so it can break off very easily, unfortunately. Fold that piece down, slide up, and bring it down. And once again, yep, that's what usually happens, because you have to be careful when you move his arm. If you try and move it by the shoulder, by like the actual chunk, it will almost definitely break off because it's a one stud connection. So you have to be very careful when posing his arms. You have to be careful where you grab them. And then last but not least, his neck can collapse in to give him a more natural posture. And we are done. If I can get him standing there, there we go. So here you have Lockdown in his robot mode. Now, personally, I think this is the better of his two modes. It's just a little bit more movie accurate, and I think it's a little bit more impressive looking. Now, as far as articulation goes, once again, similar to the other two I've covered recently, he has a T-joint in the neck, although you can extend his neck out. So depending on how tall you want him to be, you can do different levels of his neck. He's got a mess of ball joints in the shoulders, so you can use this as a butterfly joint if you wanted to. This can rotate, and then you have the main ball joint. So it's not very traditional posing, but you can do poses with that. And then you have a 90-degree bend at the elbow, as well as this bend here. At the waist, there is nothing. Yet again, unfortunately, a lot of these car bots, I just can't fit in a waist joint. Then at the hips, he has a ball joint, however, it is a bit limited due to his design. It can go forward about this far. You can kind of go a little bit further if you push it. It can go out. And then at the knee, 90-degree bend. And he actually has ball jointed ankles, so you can do tilts. And, oops, broke it. But you can also kind of tilt it that way. So a little bit of articulation. He's not great, but he has the basics covered. So of course this is a what I consider to be a minifigure scale mock. So there he is with a minifigure for scale. And this is kind of the moment of truth. I will be comparing him with Bumblebee. So as you will remember, they were the same size in car mode, but bringing him in now, you can see he's quite a bit taller, which I think is not perfect. He should be even bigger, but considering it's Lego and how accurate I was able to get it, I'm very happy with this size change, this kind of mass shift. So there he is with Bumblebee, and you can see just how much larger he gets, how he kind of expands. And then accessory-wise, he has two accessories. He has his hook hand, which, simply enough, you can just pop off his hand and replace it, and it will look decent enough. Whoops. And there you go. There you have him with a hook hand. Looking cool. And the much more iconic accessory I'll get to when I get this hook hand off of him. You have everybody's favorite gun face. So for this accessory, you have to take his head and rip it off. And then there is the tiniest little bit of transformation. You bring down this piece, and what that lets you do is when you slide this on, it actually gives him kind of a new chest piece, so it looks like it's coming out of his chest, and then that folds over it. And that gives it the look as though it's kind of transformed out of him, rather than just being a new head, which ultimately it is. And there you have the look of him with his gun head on, and I think it looks rather nice. It's, well, nice, but silly, so silly in a nice way. It looks about as silly as it really should, which is all I can say. So that's Age of Extinction Lockdown. I'm sorry for the wait. I hope it was worth it, but he's finally done. He's finally out. I hope you guys like him, and I'll see you next time.